Hey guys. So this week we talked about courts, the different kinds of courts, and just wanted to go over a little bit of what I took from this week's readings and some questions that I had. Um, so first off, I'm not as familiar with the federal court system as I am the state court system, and I'm very familiar with Virginia's state court system and not Tennessee. So it was neat to see Dr. Edwards go over the different levels in Tennessee because I always got completely confused when they talk about Chancery Court and General Sessions Court. I'm like, which court is this? I have no clue. So it was nice that he went over that. Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Um, and just, I guess, to kind of go over, like, so in Virginia, your court of limited jurisdiction in Virginia is called General District Court. That's where your misdemeanors are heard. That's where your felonies will go through a preliminary hearing. You'll hear some civil stuff there. If you do a preliminary hearing with a felony there, whether you actually do the preliminary hearing or they waive their preliminary hearing, you then will go through grand jury, where most of the time you're going to have an officer, or if it's if the felony was taken out by a citizen, you'll have them come and they actually testify in front of the grand jury. So then you get a true bill or a not true bill. If you get a true bill, which 9 times out of 10 you are, then you will go through circuit court. Then you go through the Court of Appeals and then the Virginia Supreme Court. So that's how it works in Virginia as compared to Tennessee. So it's pretty much the same thing. Your juvenile and domestic relations stuff wasn't really covered with this, but you will also, have misdemeanors and felonies that are going to go from those through um, juvenile and domestic relations court that will also eventually, or can also eventually, make its way up to circuit court. So I just wanted to go over that. So one question that I had was the shadow docket. I know that Dr. Edwards touched on that, but my question is, who decides which cases are going to be heard? Do they have to meet like a certain criteria? Has these already been through other court systems? How do they decide which ones of these are heard, and which ones come first? So that's kind of my question on that. Um, Also, I did have another question about the appeals court. So when you have the three judge panel, my question was, what if, and do they have safeguards in place to where you're not going to get like three conservative judges, or you're not going to get three liberal judges all together? So that's my question. Does politics come into play at that point in time, and does their judicial philosophy, does that come into play, and do they try to mix those up to where you've got a little bit of both? So that was kind of a question that I had on that. Um, um, One thing too that I was wanting to kind of bring up. So in the book on, let me find it real quick. I apologize. In the book, it was talking about the judges. So they're talking about the judges and how they're selected in each state. And it actually had the table on page 109 where it shows each state. It shows whether they were elected, if it was a um, through a partisan or a nonpartisan election. And it actually states in the book that South Carolina and Georgia are the only states where their judges are elected by the legislature. That's not true, because Virginia, they we don't have elections for judges. They're actually chosen by the General Assembly. Because I googled that after I read that, and I was like, wait, we don't do that. We don't elect judges. So I had to look, and then if you actually look on the table, it has the L in parentheses next to Virginia, where it says that they are selected by the legislature. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So other than that, I found this week's readings really interesting. I love the court system. I love the legal system. So any of this is pretty neat to me. Um, but I think that's about all. And hope everybody is still good and nobody got blown away or drowned today. It was pretty bad here in Bristol. Luckily, we didn't have anything down. I did have a basketball hoop fall down on my car, but that's okay. But hope everybody is good and can't wait to see everybody else's discussions. Thanks.